Going to call this meeting to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call.
Rasmussen,
Here.
Gunderson,
Here.
Appleby.
Here.
The second item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the the
September
September 8th, 2014 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 8th, 2014.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Citizen appearances.
Yes, sir.
We have you, you're next on the agenda for the request for the funding. So either under this item or the next item, you can recognize him. I mean, both the three that are here are all for the Lake Group, so if you'd,
All right, the Finance Committee recognizes the Lake Group. Mr. Tulfa.
Thank you, sir. In front of you, you'll see a brochure that I just handed out that just came off the press, and I didn't get a chance to brief Holly because I didn't get the information until about an hour ago. And tomorrow night is our regular lake meeting, so I won't be able to give you all the information that you probably require right now. But Dave Worth is working on the information for our petition for a lake district, okay? And what I did is I went to the county and I redone the lines, and it's riparian owners only. So there ain't no complaining from our fellow citizenry. It'll just be us on the lake. We'll be paying the freight, in other words, okay? Whatever it comes to, whatever we come up with here, okay? I don't know exactly what our contributions will be until the lake district is formed monetarily. But what you got in front of you here right now is what I got from Mike Cordes. That's $2,740 is the total monies that is required today. Because by December, this $2,740 has to be in to get a grant for $23,000, which we will be responsible for $7,698.24 out of that $23,000. Okay? That's what we'll be responsible for. We can start the process in 2016, but we have to file December of this year, and we have to have $2,740. Then we can go from there with the $23,000, the $25,000, whatever number we come up with here. And like I say, we'll be responsible for only $7,600 of that money. And maybe the city don't even have to pay that if we got our lake district in order here and we work out something monetarily with the owners. But of course, you know, preferably we need some city help though, correct? Okay. Now that's required by law. We have to get that $2,740 in and do the plant study here. We got to bring this thing up to date, otherwise we cannot get a grant. And it must be done within a matter of weeks now. It's the midnight hour. So forget the big dollars for now. We're asking for $2,740.
okay, and just to clarify, so, and for the record on the meeting, that the request was at first, you're looking for 2 grants, or there's 2, I
Well,
guess, phases? And I'll just sort of lay this out, and then you can let me
3
know how it
phases.
changes. Okay.
3 phases. This will
On
be
the-
the first phase.
Okay, and on the request we got, it was for, looking for a planning grant for $10,000, and of that, 1/3 must come from the Weyauwega Lake Restoration. So the request that's here, and I know you said it changed, but I'll lay this out first, and then you can sort of explain where it changes, that'll help.
Right.
Out of that 10,000, 1/3 of that is $3,334 with rounding.
Mhm.
And the request that was sent in was for that amount, for the city to fund the $3,334
Right,
towards that $10,000 planning grant.
right.
the other piece then was after filing the lake management plan, looking for an implementation grant, and the grant would be for $75,000 over 3 years.
For 3 years, right?
And of that, it's another 1/3 that is
1/3 of
required
that.
that you'd have to match. So the
Right.
request, right now it's to the city council, but what you're basically saying is that you have to come up with $25,000.
Roughly
match
in
on the
3
grant.
years.
Okay,
Yep.
so the request that was sent in to us was for basically the match for each of those grants.
Okay.
3,334
Right,
and 25,000. Asking, and what's in front of the council is to ask for $28,334. And now you already said that it changed a little bit,
It
so
changed,
that's
it was.
the main thing is just to lay out what the request was, and it was for the city to kick in 28,000 plus towards the.
but actually, the
Project.
number would be less than that, because also I think that Mark Cordes doesn't have that 1350 on there we already paid him last month.
Okay,
That was in preparation for this, because he did the survey to identify the curly pond leaf.
yep,
Okay, I don't believe that was taken off of there. I'll have to talk to him about that.
okay.
He's an honest man, and, it's in black and white, so there ain't no getting around it, So,
So what's probably gonna have to happen tonight is, and I'm just sort of setting the table so that we can
okay,
figure out, whatever we have to discuss here. Instead of the 28,334, because you made a request for that money,
right,
we'll have to pick apart the request and say, if the first part has changed, which you said it did, do about 2,700, probably act on that or do something on that part, and then the other part would be, okay, going forward, the $25,000, either the council
That'll be next
approves,
spring.
denies, holds, whatever they wanna do, but that's just sort of the game plan is gonna have to be, how do we deal with the $3,300 request first, and then the $25,000 request?
scratch to 33.
Does that help for you guys at first, and then we can work maybe back from there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so let's just keep in mind that off of the request, you'll have to probably act on both of those, so treat them sort of as two items.
Because I
And
think
back
what
to you then, you said the 3,300 then changed.
Right, because here's what I think happened here. The 2740, we're down to 2740 from the 33. He took 600 off of there, but he took $2,000 off of the 25, because he originally quoted us 25, and here now he's got 23,328. Okay, so his
And
numbers did
that's
change.
the estimate per year for 3 years?
That's better than an estimate, that's what it is.
Okay, so instead of 25,000 per year, 23,000,
For the first year, for sure. Now,
Okay.
costs might go up the
so
following year.
year one, you've got a number, okay.
Right.
And you expect that to be what year?
That would be next spring.
2015 would be year one of the implementation then.
Yeah. Now, mind you, though, out of this 23,328, we're gonna get that grant, okay? But we're responsible for 7,600 of that. So we really don't need the 23,000. What we need the following year is 7,000, $7,698.24. We don't need 23,000. We need 7,698.24 the following year to get the 25, because we're responsible for 1/3. The state is picking up the other 16, 17, 18,000. So right now, we need 2740, and next spring, we need 7,698 instead of the 25,000. That's a hell of a lot less.
But the costs are still gonna be about 23 to 25,000. You're just saying you're
Right.
going to apply for, now, are you getting the grant? Do you know
He-
you're getting the grant, or you're
yes.
you're applying for it?
He is applying as soon as I give him the money. The 2740, he starts the wheels in motion.
And did he say it's likely, like 100% that you'll
He
get it,
is-
or?
He said he don't like blowing his horn, but he's 100% usually
He
on his
is
grants.
Mark from Stantec?
Mark Cordes,
Okay.
right. Yeah. He's got quite a success ratio.
So, to clarify then, instead of the 3,300, you're asking for what dollar amount exactly?
2,740.
And you need that by what date?
December. December 1st is our deadline. We gotta have the money in.
Okay, so that's probably identified the first section here.
Yeah.
The second section then, you mentioned that you don't need to act on that tonight then, on the matching the 25,000 per year?
25, no, it's not necessary, no.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do,
But
you
if
want
we-
that to be tabled or,
Table it,
okay.
yeah. Or if,
But
you know,
tabled to be brought back in
To
the
be brought
future, or
back.
just,
table to be
or will
brought
you
back.
just bring it back? Cause if you table
Yeah.
it, if you table it as part of this request, it's probably gotta keep,
Okay.
we'll just leave it out there? you know,
I'll
if-
bring
if-
it back,
Okay, so you'll bring it back
yeah.
then? Okay,
What it is why,
that's easy
why,
enough then.
why take the money ahead of time? You know,
Okay.
unless you guys feel generous and you wanna give me 25,000 and I won't see you for 3 years. How's that? You know, I mean, that's the options.
Okay, so really what you're concerned with is the $2,740?
Right.
Okay,
And then we can start the process of the chemical treatment in 2016. Because this takes a while to go through, you know how government works, right, fellas?
I've got one more question, maybe two more, I'll ask you one right now. One would be, out of the 2,740, do you have money on hand to cover that? If you have a deadline by December?
It'd be pretty close. Right now, I'm coughing up $2,500 for fish that I'm planting in a week and a half, 2 weeks from now.
Okay,
And those fish are gonna cost me $2,500, about.
okay.
So,
And how much, do you
it's
know
gonna
about how
be
much you have on hand?
Probably about 1,800.
You have,
We'll
you
have
have
leftover.
okay, after the fish purchase?
Yeah, we'll have
Okay.
about 1,800, yeah.
Okay. The one question that I have, I should probably save for the last question, but you did send me a map of, I think it was it was titled AIS, so it was probably the aquatic,
Invasive species.
and it was a map of where they are on the lake. So
Yeah.
the project that you're talking about is to address just those areas on the lake, right?
Right, the first round.
Okay, and do you have any plans yet
For the
for
second
the
round?
rest of the lake then?
Yes,
Or
we
is
do.
that sort of after you get the first one done, then,
After we get the first one done, and when we start targeting the flowering rush
okay,
and the rest of the invasives that are coming down.
okay, so this is just for,
This is the killer, this is the one that spreads the fastest. This is the one
Curly
that's
leaf
gotta be,
pondweed.
curly leaf
Okay.
pondweed, it's gotta be addressed immediately,
yep,
or, we're in trouble.
okay,
The flowering rush is bad news too, but, it ain't as bad as the curly leaf.
okay,
That's the stuff Ted Johnson was concerned about too, to get rid of it right away.
the flowering rush, so if I remember off that map, there wasn't a lot of flowering rush on there, it's just down by our
It's
dock,
dying.
right by the silo?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it is
fine.
now because it's in the remission, you know, but it'll come back next spring because it did last year. My peer, Joe Boringer's, it's terrible. You can't even see the piers at all.
Sure,
I sent you, oh, maybe it was 7 or 8 months ago, a map of the planting.
yes, yes,
After we accomplish this, then we're talking to the DNR about planting.
getting the good stuff for the
We have
favorable
to get,
things.
yeah, we have to get lily pads into
Yeah.
these areas so that we don't have the flowering rush come back and it'll stabilize the lake.
Okay,
So that's next, so that's like 2 years away.
okay. That's all I've got. If you guys.
But it's a lot less
questions?
than we originally sought, you know.
Mhm.
And, but this curly leaf is gonna be addressed immediately though. And if I miss the deadline December 1st, then we gotta go another year. And if we go another year, it's gonna be like, down over there at Silver Lake by Watoma. Then it'll consume probably 2/3 of the lake then. Then instead of 25,000, it'll be 100,000. And, then if I can't get the money for that, well, the more weeds you got in the lake, the slower the current. Slower the current, the less sediment flow. We'll get more buildup, and we'll have a mud hole here again. So it's really important. Thank you.
Mr. Dolfo, what is the status of the Lake District today?
Dave right now is working on a petition for me. He's got a form, that I should get tomorrow night at my lake meeting. Lake meeting is here tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I'll have a lot more answers on that tomorrow. I can forward it to Pat if Pat wants to
Yeah.
freshen you up on it, that's fine.
Yep. Because we have a plan commission meeting at the same time in the other room, I think, but
Yeah.
I can kinda see,
There's only
I'll
about
see you for sure, you know.
50, 60 signatures that we've got to get with landowners around the lake.
We only have 61 repairing.
Yep, and we did,
But-
Jim had given me a map, and I did give it to the council at the last council
But
meeting, so
Dave-
they did
but
see the map.
But the question that I asked Dave Worth though, out of that 61, like just for an example, if I may say, Star Dairy owns 20 properties. You take that 20 off of that 61 signatures, now you only need 41. Okay, so it ain't that many,
Mhm.
so. Hypothetically. He was gonna check on that, plus on a husband and a wife situation too, that are joint owners on a property. If one can sign or if they both must sign. According to Dave, he thinks just one has to sign, even though they're joint owners on the property, but we'll see, I'll have that answer tomorrow.
Do you have any idea at this point in time what you're looking at for income to be generated by the district?
Nothing.
Any proposal or guesstimations on where you think you might be at to?
I kind of ran fake numbers. I figured that of the 61 properties that we have around the lake that are not owned by the city, that we would have an average value of somewhere around 200,000 for the home, and at $1 per mil, we would get 12,000.
200,000 is their assessed value then? Is that the same number that the city looks at for
I think
assessed?
so. That's what I'm guessing, because I
It
don't
might
have
be,
your
I bet
city.
you it might be higher than that, because I know like Joel Boringer's property
Yeah.
in
It's
its
300.
current state is at 167,000 on its own.
On its own.
Yep.
Okay.
It used to be 300, but it's because it's in the condition it's in with that house.
Right.
Oh,
Just the
yeah.
assessed value,
So I don't, that's my going off
Yeah.
at
yeah.
tax
But that's-
record
okay.
and going, okay, well, maybe this is,
Mhm.
so those are just stupid numbers.
But 12,000 a year is,
About,
Yeah,
that
and
should be
it's-
about what we're looking at, which would go a long way to keeping us moving with a lot of these things, especially when you think about applying for grants, we would be able to pay the matching.
do you know how soon? I know I went to the last lake group meeting and Dave had said that when he's working on Stratton Lake, it took like 4 months
Right.
to get the Lake District online, which if you were getting going, you could get it done fairly quickly, I would think, but how soon does that revenue come in then off of the Lake District? And the reason I ask is because
We'd be a year out.
I would imagine
Because
after
in a
the
year,
year's
if
up,
you
yeah,
have
with the
sort of an
taxes.
inflow of 12,000 a year,
Yeah.
that might make a big difference.
Mhm.
It would.
Well, it would make a big difference.
Well, I'm just looking at 61 owners, okay, at $100 a head is $6,000. You know,
Okay.
and we need 7,600. I mean, I'm just shooting that out there. If everybody chipped in $100, we could clean it up.
You might be able to, and depending on how your meeting goes tomorrow night, you might be able to get a good idea fairly quickly how much money you could bring in. You know, the county, if they are able to map out those properties, they've got access to the same info
Sure.
with their valuations too, because
Yeah,
they're
I've been
hooked with the
there, but,
county.
you know
Because
what?
I get my info off the counties, off that same website through the planning
Yeah,
and
the one thing that we
department.
face that's a problem is that to
Yeah.
get a lake district, we have to have legal descriptions of all the properties.
Sure.
And because of the way this lake is arranged, we can't go by a road.
That's true.
We can't say there is a road and all the properties to the south of that road are in the lake district.
Can't box
We
it
have
in.
to literally do each and
Individual.
every property individually, which is going to set us back. That's
Yeah.
gonna take time.
It may not though, because the county has the info, like on the tax records, it has a full
I asked
description.
them,
I can see, I can pull it,
Can
I
you
mean, even
get
if
it?
you click, yeah, we
It's a-
can get it
It's a
too.
matter of public
if
record.
you can get it, bless you, because when I talk to the county, they like throw up their hands and go.
Well, I think it's
"Oh my
easily
God."
received, or easily gotten, I should say. you know.
Okay, well, if you could help us there, that would be amazingly wonderful.
Certainly would.
That would help us tremendously.
Well, I think the first question might be from the county, I think, because the county's got all those records.
Mhm.
And it might just be,
When I've asked them though, they throw their hands up and go, oh my God. So you may have a better answer than I do.
I'll check.
Thank
I don't know, I'm not volunteering to go point and click.
No, but if
But,
you,
you know what I
if you
mean?
can find the
I
right
think there's an
terminology
easier
to
way
ask
than
them.
what they're saying. That could be it.
Yeah, cause we have to have that, and that's not coming from the clerk, I think that comes from whoever does the map.
Sure, and you've got 5, 6 departments. Register of Deeds has those descriptions, the treasurer's on the tax bills.
It's gonna be the
Planning.
Register of Deeds that's gonna
Okay.
have those legal descriptions, and we have to have them complete. So it has to be the third block of the 27th, you know,
Sure.
that awful
Sure.
description for each property.
They worked with me pretty good down there, Ian, every time I went in for
Yeah.
a map,
Mhm.
and then everybody's address and got
I think there's
everybody's
a relatively easy way to get it. Now, it might
That
not
would
seem
be
easy,
lovely.
but
Cause we can't use roads.
Good. Dave was gonna check on that too, but, that'd be good if you could, Pat, really. Help us out there.
the one thing, and Mike, because you just came in, the request that came in was for $28,334. What they had said was, all they need right now is $2,700. So the $3,300 on that grant, they made a one request saying that they needed $3,300. What they really only need is $2,700. And the remainder, so the $25,000 of the requests, they wanna put on hold and bring back in the future, so that's kinda where we're at. Okay?
One of you guys wanna come to the meeting tomorrow?
They have another
Can
meeting.
you, or not? I don't know, you got that other meeting there.
I'll be in the other room, and Mike will be in the other room too for the plan commission at 6.
Well, we could drill a hole through the wall, then. Put a shot glass up against the wall.
We'll have the camera in the other room, but,
Yeah.
I mean, if you could film it too, then you've got it out there for people that can't make it, you know what I mean?
Sure. Now, my question to you guys is how fast can you guys move on the 2,700? When will I have an answer?
I don't feel that we can approve this at this point in time. We're gonna have to take this to council if we so decide
Well, whatever you would recommend.
at the next meeting.
You can only make recommendations.
Right.
If they need the money by December,
1st.
First.
we're in October. Your meeting is tomorrow night.
Correct.
The next round, I mean, and I'm just laying out timelines. If you didn't make a decision tonight, you have the November committee meeting. And then November council would be, I believe, November, it's the third Monday. I have a calendar, but it would be approved the third week in November.
Deer
Have enough time.
November 20th?
It is deer hunting, actually.
Mhm.
So for timing, tonight is not your, I guess, drop dead date,
No.
for lack of a better term.
And I think they're looking forward to getting some good information in tomorrow night's meeting as well.
Right,
Correct?
yes, sir.
Yeah. That was gonna be my recommendation
Yeah.
is to table it till after tomorrow night's meeting.
I'm thinking that as well. I think you'll be better prepared after your meeting tomorrow night with some good figures and have a better feel for where you're actually gonna
Well,
be
the
at.
What kind of figures are you looking for?
Actually, these numbers ain't gonna move though.
What I'm looking at is what you feel that the Lake District is going to generate. You're gonna have a better idea, correct?
No,
What is tomorrow night's meeting about then?
well, this is our regular
Regular
link meeting.
Regular link meeting.
But for us to figure out what we would actually generate, I would have to know what the tax rolls are for that area.
And that's gonna take you some time to get
That we
down.
have to go and dig and find. So we won't know that. And then generating the legal description, that's a good 2 weeks of work before, and we have to do that, and then getting the signatures, you have to figure that's a while longer. And all of these things have to go to the county, not to you, because this would be through the county, because that's what happens. I mean, from what I understand, that's the way the
Right.
Lake District works. We have to
It
go through
would,
the
I
county.
mean, but the city is still able to weigh in.
You could.
Oh, yeah.
As a property
You can
owner
weigh in,
too,
but it
you
goes
know?
to the county though.
Yeah.
You
Right.
could, but we still,
Right.
then we have to wait for county meetings to come up. So you can see, just waiting on meetings, we are months
We really
away.
won't have
Well,
anything different.
to be
These
fair,
numbers
though, I
here though
think-
are certainly concrete though, these aren't gonna move.
Yeah,
We got an agreement here with, it's waiting for my signature, our signature here on it, and it's ready to go. I mean, these ain't gonna move, these numbers.
So what numbers are you, what other numbers are you looking for?
one of the questions would be, do you need 2740 from the city?
Yeah.
If you have, but you have money on hand though, what are you
We got
doing with
money
the
on
money on
hand, but
hand?
we will cease to exist. All right, we'll be down to nothing.
Where does the township play in this?
There's probably 4 or 5. I
Did
passed
you
out,
get any money for the streetlights?
I passed out,
Same deal.
well, it's just riparian owners.
But he's saying
Yeah,
the town, did you request money from the, not to speak for you, but.
Right,
it was-
No.
you're right, they have your requester from the town.
No. You know what that's like as well as I do. That ain't even, I'm not a defeatist, but that isn't even worth a try. You know,
Quite frankly, when you look between towns and cities, towns have to maintain so many more roads and streets than cities do. That in my experience of covering towns and cities for newspapers over the past 30 years, towns never have money. They are always
Right.
running in the
But they
red.
don't provide the same services that a city provides.
The cities always have more money because they have less expenses. So even with villages, the villages usually do better than the townships do. Now, I mean, this may be different here. I can't say how Weyauwega goes, but the townships and the cities that I covered, Appleton has a terrible time because Grand Chute has lots of money and Appleton has zip. But that's because it's on its head,
Mhm.
because they have the mall. We don't have that situation here. We don't have the mall living in the township. They have just roads. So that's usually why they are bankrupt and usually in debt. The township for Weyauwega does not sound like it's cash rich to the meetings that I've been at. They sound like they have a pretty tough way to just cover the roads that they've got and the repairs.
and a $500 light bill.
And the constant,
Yeah.
their constant problem seems to be Quantum Dairy and the roads that are torn up
They ain't
there.
gonna
That seems to be a
give us
big
nothing.
deal.
And
So that's just my understanding of it, and I can be wrong, but
But
that's,
so you haven't asked them at all?
we've been, we can't say no, because we did go and talk to them, and I think we've talked to them twice. And we they're, it's like, we'd like to help, but, where are we gonna go
That was
get?
about 6 years ago.
Well,
5,
no,
6
we
years
went
ago.
2 years. We went last year and talked to them. I know, I had to drive in the winter.
Can I just ask a question? I don't wanna sound stupid or anything, but you, were saying that you have to come up with 2,500 for fish that you have to plant in a couple weeks,
Right.
and that would leave you with 1,800. Well, is there a chance that you could just put off not putting the
No.
fish in, or do you?
That was a gift from Weyauwega Conservation
Okay.
Club. They gave me the money for
Okay.
the fish,
Yeah.
and it was earmarked for fish only. I tried to wiggle my way in on that too and say, how about some for weed control? Absolutely not, fish, because they wanted to get the kids involved. And I did have a fishery here a couple of years ago for the kids and that, but, that's their primary goal. Is, they work a lot with kids and Boy Scouts and stuff like that, They wanted it for fish only.
A lot of these things that happen with the lake are time and temperature specific. So with
Yeah.
these fish, that we have to have temperature
Yeah.
values at the right point, so money's being held back. But I don't think we're planting any more fish.
I'm planting them in 2 weeks. He wants a hard frost first.
But that's these, and then we're done.
Yeah, the veterinarian is looking at them this week. He's gonna approve it, and then I plant them next week.
So for all of you to know, as you do your working, we jockey with a lot of stuff, and trying our darndest to keep that lake looking good. It looks nice now. We've had enough cold weather that the water's clear and it looks pretty good. So, aside from other things happening, we're just a ragtag group of citizens trying to keep the lake alive. And that's really all we're doing, and so far we've raised a lot of money, but we're getting to the end of that, so that's kind of where we are.
Can only have so many raffles. I had enough of them over the last 6 years, and people start walking away from you after a while. And they figure, oh boy, he's got some raffle tickets, you know.
So just take it to council.
The city, now, before I came, the city had chipped in towards the
Yes, they
drawdown,
did.
right? Do you remember what the amount
Yes,
was?
30,000.
30 grand.
Okay,
We raised the rest of it
Yeah.
for, it's about 70-something thousand.
68,000.
Well, that was it, but then we had other expenses.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had to keep it down an additional year,
Right.
which cost us more money, because we paid the North American Hydro bill, so did you guys. That's what the 30,000 went for, was to pay North American Hydro. It was at that time that we kind of started talking to Cheryl and saying, hey, why don't you buy the dam, and we wouldn't have to pay you. But that didn't happen, so,
We didn't get any breaks, and then at the end, we even paid for their electricity. They sent us a bill for $17.11
for their last
for the light
electrical bill.
bulb going on inside the dam there. So we got no break from them at all.
was,
And they own 33 dams. I mean, they're multimillionaires, let's face it. You know, big money. No breaks.
do you remember, was that 30,000 conditioned?
No, it
When
was
the city
15
had
one
granted
year.
it, was it, well, so it was in 2 installments, but was it ever, when the request came in, was it, we're asking for 30,000 and there could be more, or we don't want any more?
No, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I
Yeah,
got the money.
and I wasn't here, so it's great.
I
you
got
know.
the money, okay? And I
Yeah.
was at the meeting, and Amy DeSantis, while we were hashing this out, she turned around and she says, while you guys were talking, I crunched the numbers. She said, I got 15 for you this year and 15,000 for you next year, and I almost lost my fillings. Cause I came in there for $5,000. So, I was extremely pleased.
And
So
the
we
money,
wouldn't-
the
we
money
wouldn't have
came out of
paid
an account, it wasn't, they didn't put it in the budget, to my understanding, and it's not, I don't think it would be something that we would consider.
I don't know, she just
In the
came up with
budget.
the number like that,
You
and
know,
I
and
don't know nothing
where-
about the politics part of it,
Yep. Okay.
but hats off to her.
But to answer your question, no, there was nothing was ever said about more or,
Sure.
No,
Yeah, you were here, Mike.
but the lake is inside Weyauwega, and certainly hope you will help us keep it alive and well.
the only thing that I can say is that's hard for us to do is when we don't have these numbers.
What numbers?
When we do our budget. They're very hard to do because now everything that we've got budgeted, now we gotta start throwing numbers around and looking to see what's.
Well, next year
What
you
can
can
happen?
plan on it, Mike. All we need is $2,700 right now, $2,740. Next year is next year. You know,
Hopefully by next year we can get the Lake District.
and if the
But
Lake
we will-
District is in, Mike, all we need is 7,600 out of that 23,000.
But if we get the Lake District,
He'll give you a sheet I just got from Mark Cordes. I got the new numbers.
if we get the Lake District in 2015, we won't see revenue until 2016. That would be my guess, because it won't go on the taxes.
And his grant won't be complete until 2016 anyhow, according to Mark Cordes.
Anyhow, is there any other information you want us to bring back to you?
What would happen if you got your Lake District and they decided they didn't want to go this route?
You can quit it in 5 years. It's perfectly legal. It's
But-
enforced
but-
for 5 years.
It'll be there for 5 years.
You're blocking them in for 5 years.
Yep.
With their John Henry saying, yes, I want to do this, and this will be thoroughly explained, because all of the people that are in the Lake District He's got a place on the lake, I got a place, Van Epson's got a place,
Right.
Eastman's got a, we all know the game.
Right, but if you do a lake district, none of you may sit on that board if you're not elected to it.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
But it has to be a
We're still gonna be,
riparian that is
we're still
elected.
gonna be,
Right.
we're still gonna be paying the freight
Mhm.
on the taxes as a landowner, correct?
Right,
Okay.
but if they decided that this was not a plan that they wanted to do, you're
Who's
gonna
they?
lock them in.
Who's
If,
they?
if the Lake District, if their board was elected, and they said, nah, no, we don't really wanna go down this road, you've already locked them into a 5-year plan. Right?
That's by signing the petition to be a lake district, they're locked into 5 years.
But he's saying.
No,
they'll
I'm
do
saying this
5-year
plan right
projects.
here,
What new officers you mean?
with this grant that you're looking at, right, new officers were
Well,
to come in and they
well,
were to
Any of the
say,
new officers that would come in hypothetically into power are not lake owners.
Yeah, they all have to be.
They all
That's
have
the
to be.
riparian.
they all have to be,
I see where you're
The
going
new
here.
board,
yes,
the
Yeah.
new board would
The new
have to
board
be
have to be.
The
riparian
board
owners?
members for the lake district.
have to come to the district.
They'd have to be part of the lake district, they can't be just Joe Blow off the street, it has to be a riparian.
Right,
So it means it would be either, I mean,
Well, it would probably cease to exist then because there's nobody else on the lake that'll carry the torch,
Well, but he's saying
you know?
that's,
you're
no,
looking
that's what I'm
at-
asking.
at a project plan.
Yeah.
So before you get a lake district, you're looking at, it's like a, what, 3-year or 5-year project plan?
5. Ours
You're
is 3
putting
years,
it
yeah.
together now,
Right.
I think you're asking Nick, and then the lake district comes in and they've
Right,
already
they-
inherited a spending, so the money's already sort of spent for them before they start the lake district?
you're going and forming a lake district, and at the same time, you're gonna tell them what they're gonna do for 5 years before they start.
Not for 5 years, this is a
For 3.
3-year plan.
Okay, you're right, I'm sorry, it is 3 years,
3 years.
but you're
And we
still,
won't see a lake district. If we run really, really fast, we won't see it until 2015, which means the plan will be halfway through.
And we got 2 3-year
And by the
terms
time they
anyhow.
have any money in it, it's gonna be over.
you won't see it till 2015, this is 14, it's not gonna start until 2015, so it'll be 1 year into it.
2016, sir.
16.
16.
That's when it's, well, you just said it was
That's when
starting
we can
15.
start with the grant, yeah. And what we're talking here is $7,000 each year for 3 years, 21 grand.
That you're asking from the city, or you'll be
Yeah.
asking from,
7,600 each year for 3 years, that's what we're asking for.
but the
Okay?
lake district will have some money to,
We'll have some money.
if it's 12,000, they'll be able to cover that.
I
and
didn't
then
say
some.
12,000, don't go on her numbers.
If, no, but I'm saying
No,
if it is.
if it is, no, let's get down into reality again, okay?
Well, but you don't have anything yet, though. You'll know tomorrow night
We'll
what you
know
have.
tomorrow night, let's not go off
That's why I'm saying if.
into that. No ifs. This is concrete, these numbers ain't gonna change. When we got the other data, it'll be fine, but right now, we would need a lousy $2,740. That's what we need. And then we can get the ball rolling from there. And if we have a lake district, we have one, and if we get defeated, we don't have one. Then the lake goes back to a mud hole. It's that simple. There's no in-betweens here. And it's a matter of $7,600 for 3 years. You know, I know people that got that in their checking account, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask for the cosmetics of the city to revitalize the downtown here and everything. Because you know damn well this place looks like hell. And we're trying to clean it up. And I know you guys are trying to clean it up by knocking down this antique, because you need some space here. Everything's outdated, the wiring, everything. I know all of that. So,
Are you able to, so you have 1,800 on hand, roughly. You need 2,740. Are you able to borrow for that money at all?
sure.
So
Borrow what?
you'd be able to borrow
I'll borrow
for
money.
it? Or
I
you
go by
wouldn't need
Dan
it?
Connect, I could borrow $30,000.
The thing is, where are we gonna get it?
But I'm trying to figure, because that's what Van Epps wanted to do, okay?
Because we talked at one
How
of
am
the
I gonna
lake
pay it
meetings
back?
that you can borrow against future tax
Yeah.
revenue. The problem is,
Well, my treasurer's sitting right here, and he's just
Yeah.
like me. We don't like to borrow money, we pay cash for stuff.
Mhm.
That's how we stay out of trouble.
but if you don't have the money, it's hard to pay cash for something though, too. If you don't have it.
For
in-
God's sakes, can I have $2,740,
That's
fellas?
fine.
That's all I want. And then we'll go from there, okay? We'll take up to $7,600 next May.
The other piece is, the request is 2,740, you could give the money or you could loan the money. I mean, you have options, but I'm glad, I'll just say, I'm glad I filmed this, because a lot of the numbers, and I know that you just got this handout before the meeting.
Right.
I haven't looked through it, and I'll take your word for it on some of the numbers there. But there were a lot of numbers thrown out that we'll have available on the video now. I don't mean to suggest that you hold off till November, but you have time to do that. You could sit down and say, here's the request, if it's 2,740, this is what you're asking for. It can go to the November finance meeting. If it's approved or recommended to approved, it can go to the November council meeting, and you can have that money before December. You know, because really, not that, I mean, I started taking notes, and
That would be
I'm
ideal.
leaning on the camera, really, to kind of go back and say, here's the numbers, and the handout, which is quite a few pages,
Right.
just to read through it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, most of it is terms, his terms and conditions.
Sure.
That's what it is. It's, liabilities.
Now, have you locked in Stan Tech for this service, or they're
Not
asking
until
you
I
to?
sign it. I
Okay.
can sign it tonight.
Because that's kind of the awkward position too, is if you
Right.
locked in and spend the money before you have the money, you know, it's,
Yeah, no, he's
but
pretty
you're not
honest
doing
guy.
that right now, okay.
I'd like to read it.
He'll hold to his signatures on it already. Just waiting for ours.
Sure.
So this can be done in December.
Well, what they're looking for is they need the money with the application submitted by December 1st.
By December 1st, that's D-Day. Let's try November 28th. I'll sleep better.
Well, yeah, I mean, if this goes through to November council,
Mhm.
I'm just
Council
looking
be
at
on
the
the
calendar,
17th.
when the council meeting's on the 17th?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, a check, if you approve it on November 17th, the check's cut November 20th. That's enough time before the end of the month?
Great. Yep.
Okay.
Let me know if you need any more information, if there's any facts or figures that you need, I will try my best to get them to you. And
I'll let you know what Dave says tomorrow, so,
so you get what we know.
Yeah.
petition.
Finance Committee.
We may,
Yeah.
I don't know how long that meeting next door is gonna be tomorrow, but it might be,
I think so.
I'll cut over if we're done
Right.
first.
Because I know it's gonna all be on us anyhow here, as lake owners. We'll clean it up and everybody else will be able to enjoy it. Maybe somebody will tip their hat and thank us, right?
I'll make a motion to table this until the next,
We don't get paid
October,
for our
the
meeting.
next finance meeting.
Do we need to make a motion at this time? This was listed as a discussion on a request.
No, you can make a motion to
Can-
refer it to the November,
Yeah.
or hold it until the November finance meeting.
All right, all right. Made a motion to carry it to the next finance?
I'll
Yep.
second that.
Okay,
Give me time to read all this.
okay. I'll look at another copy.
Want a copy of this here? Can you get me another copy?
Sure.
I'll send you the
Are
email,
these,
Pat.
why don't we
That'd
do that?
be
We'll,
best.
we'll make sure, cause I got one that says
Okay.
one day, one that says the other. Why don't I meet with you guys and we'll get the right one? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think
We'll
you
do
have,
that.
one is the description and the other is the
It's-
formal proposal.
Okay, cause it's a little, I think you know where I'm at. When one says October 2nd, one says the 3rd.
Well, they all
But
do
the
what I did.
second is the one that's most current, not the 3rd.
What I did is I combined everything on one email and sent them all to you at
But
once.
this is on
That's what I did.
Stan Tech's letterhead though, the dates though, is what I'm looking at, you know.
And-
That's the one that
and
interests
Jim
me
sent
more.
you that one, that second one, the one that I was
Yeah.
printing out just before you got here.
Okay, well, I'll touch base with you guys to see, cause
Okay.
literally if I look at them both, they look the same on the first page and then
Right.
we'll get on the same page.
Tomorrow night.
I'm gonna send it to you, it'll be in your inbox
Good.
in 10 seconds.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, you have a motion and a second.
Slow to be done.
You didn't
Just
vote
take
at all,
a-
are you done discussing?
Yep.
Yes. Let's take a vote on it then.
That's fine.
Oh, no.
Call it.
All right,
Right?
vote.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye for me. Aye for
Yes,
Mary.
that's an all in favor.
Okay, all in favor on that, so we'll have it at the November meeting. But in the meantime though, and before the end of the week, I'll touch base with you guys and make sure we got it,
Okay,
okay?
sure.
Yeah.
Just a note here, fellas, though,
Yeah.
personally speaking, how do you guys think we're doing? Do you think we're doing the community some good by doing this, or do you think, we're wasting our breath by trying to clean it up? You think it's a good idea?
I guess the proof will be when your efforts are all done and you can look at it and see the toils of your labor. You
So
know,
you don't see a value to the lake?
oh, I see a value to it. I saw a value to it years ago and I used to love going there and fishing bluegills.
Yeah.
Good, okay. That's all we're kind of looking forward to you
We
valuing.
get rid of the weeds, we'll have plenty of fish out there now too, I'm telling you. They're growing too. Oh, yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Next item.
Very
All right,
good.
thank you for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is a discussion on a city logo apparel.
You have an email, I did have Becky acquire quotes from 3 companies. Got that email with the information in your packet. Becky had called Dockside Designs in town here, Team Outfitters in Weyauwega, and Fox Cities Embroidery in Hortonville. We had talked a little bit at the last meeting about getting quotes on logo apparel to be potentially purchased and distributed to employees, and then maybe the council too. The idea here is that, you know, you've got some of the information there. Basically, what they're all looking at is for a polo shirt, $20 to $25. The difference is in the setup fees on getting the city logo set up at each company. Dockside Designs is $30. We would pay half of that. Team Outfitters setup charge $20. Fox Cities Embroidery setup charge is $50. And the note here that Becky has is that basically the same price for the shirts. It's $20 to $25.
So only Dockside will pay half of the setup?
That's the note that she had from them,
Okay.
yeah. And she's been, because that's the first one she called, she had asked that to each
Mhm.
vendor too. Is there anywhere that you want to move forward on this? I'll tell you honestly, that's the information we gathered. Now, scoping out individual prices on each size, you know, sometimes shirt size will have a different price. How many we need, 2 per person, 1 per each employee, 1 per council, colors, all that different stuff. We didn't really look into that, and I'll honestly tell you, I haven't done a whole lot of homework on how is that gonna work. The big thing that I said last month was we would get quotes for you on what it might run.
Mhm.
Again, it's kind of it's not a big ticket item, but I think it
Mhm.
is something that we have the prices now. So now I think the committees just need to figure out which way we wanna go, how many we wanna go with, and
Right.
put it in the
One
budget.
question I do have, and that'll be the last question I have on this is, so if we do logo clothing,
Mhm.
what is that logo gonna be? Is it the horse and buggy? Is it
No.
a
It's not horse
W?
and
You know,
buggy.
what are we gonna do? So that'll be
No.
part of the discussion too, you
All
know?
right, well, let's just take it one step at a time. Okay, we're looking at this, and if the shirts are basically the same, the setup charge for us at Dockside Design is $15, and not the 20 at Team Outfitters. All things being equal, then I would say we should go to Dockside Design then, and next ask for some books on what they have to offer. We can look at them, we can start from there and decide, okay, I mean, this is what the council would like, this is what we'd like for yourself and the office girls, because Public Works guys, they already have their uniforms.
They do.
Right.
You know,
Logo
the police
uniforms.
department, they already have their stuff, so we're only looking at office people. So
And maybe they would have something in stock that they could bring to a meeting so that you could see the material.
Right.
You could see what you're buying.
Bring us a polo shirt,
Exactly.
bring us a button, a dress shirt,
Dress shirt,
And for
The
council
sweatshirt.
two is what we're looking at, right?
Council
We're looking-
two, yes.
Okay, so, okay.
yes.
So we'll get information from Dockside Designs on their product line, more specific pricing,
Right,
Yes.
and then we'll work on the logo then next month. Does that sound?
that sounds good.
and I think
Maybe
then-
keep in mind what you'd like on that?
And I think the committee needs then to also look at, you know, as council, how many do we want?
Right,
Or how many do they feel that the council
Sure.
should have, and how many the city will pay for the office
Right.
people?
right,
Now, that's a little bit different, I mean. they
That's a
may
lot
need-
different.
They might need maybe 4 or whatever,
Yeah.
where the council people don't.
You're right.
And if the- And the other thing would be the option of, if the committee or the council decides that, well, we're gonna just take one per council person, that they still have the option, if they wanna buy the other one, they
See.
can buy the other one.
and I agree with that 100%. Council really only needs one,
Right,
because you're only gonna, you only really need to wear it once a month.
unless you have meetings like this where you have them every night.
Well,
I think you need a polo shirt and you need a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
That's it.
right,
You
I
need-
would agree
you
with that.
need 2 per person. Yes, definitely.
So,
And I appreciate the fact that we are leaning toward Dockside Designs, even though their pricing is better. I
well,
feel strongly about keeping our local business here in our community.
it's nice when the stars align and everything is,
That is,
You know.
makes it easier
Right.
in black and white.
right,
Right, we've got 3 quotes and it's not a,
you know, 'cause it'd be nice that the office girls be able to choose. You know, you could be a polo shirt, you could be in a dress shirt, you could be whatever. We're just looking at the logo more than anything else, and something nice that our first impression when people come in is that we look like we're professional. Patrick's gonna need more
right.
when you go to conferences and such, you know.
That's right.
We can't have more of the same shirt every day.
Okay, well, I'll go get that information from Dockside then.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need a motion on it, I could just go get it. We'll come back.
Perfect.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right, the next item on our agenda is the update on the new city website.
We did go live with the website. You've got a quick screenshot in your packet on the homepage. And then you also have a screenshot of, it says on there, most recent city council meeting video. So that's where the last, if you, you have it in your packet, but all the way back to June, we have the council meeting videos on there. They're on YouTube, and it takes a long time to load them, the longer the meeting goes. But we get them on there, and then we just embed it in this website, so people can go to our website. You can see on here, the link right below the video is the agenda. You can click that, it opens in another window for you, so you can follow the agenda.
Nice.
And then, like I said, we've got something of a history, and the only thing that's on there right now is city council meeting videos. We do have a lot of the same basic information from the old website that's on here. A lot of the forms, which I think I had mentioned at this committee, just need to be updated. There's a lot of permits in Public Works that need to be signed off on by the supervisor of Public Works supervisor position, and my position. And we don't have a Public Works supervisor. Now, there's a couple other forms that don't need to go to Plan Commission or City Council, but the form says that they need that approval, so just cleaning up a lot of those forms, and of course, none of them are in Word, so you have to basically recreate all the forms. But if you go out to the website, it did, like I said, it was turned on, it is live. It's got enough of the information on there, and as you look on the top, the homepage, you can see that the calendar is running too. So we have all the meetings for this month, we have trick or treat hours on there. I think it was updated since I put this in the packet though. But we've got featured news, it says when trick or treat is. Latest events on October 26th on that calendar, the trick or treat hours are on there. So we've got it up and running, it's just a matter of building it out, so.
Great,
And it is very nice.
very nice,
It's a lot better than what we had for sure.
for sure.
And actually, I'll put this on here and then she'll probably watch and read this or hear it, but I got an email from my mom last night. She was checking out our website, which I hadn't told her about it. I've been busy enough, but she emailed and said she was watching videos now. So, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool. That's something that we haven't had, and when you don't, we had the lake group here tonight. Nobody else is here at all, but you'll have it out on the website that people can watch it.
Did she tell you to sit up?
What's that?
Did she tell you to sit up?
Not yet, not yet. She will now, though. The other thing that's out there is you can look at the counter on YouTube on how many times our videos are getting watched, and for each council meeting, I mean, we're sitting at about 50 views for each of them. So people are watching it. The problem, and not a problem, but because Ruben and Sean have been filming and putting the same meetings up, technically one of our meetings will be up twice. So our numbers are 50 views, but I'd have to look at how many views are on the other one. Not to put in a plug for our website, but I'll put in a plug for our videos. With this, the wireless microphone, you can hear us a lot better on ours. So
Great.
in a way, we're a little bit better there. That's all I've got on the update. It's up, it's just a matter of updating it, so.
Very nice.
Very good, thank you,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yep.
Right there, next item for discussion is the possible action on the industrial park land farming agreement with Gordon Nemeth.
We mentioned at the very end of the last finance meeting, under such other matters,
Yeah.
that the city has had a current agreement with Dean Cornelius on land in the Industrial Park West. You have a copy of his agreement, basically the form agreement. It's a page with the signatures on the second page. It's a page-long lease agreement with Dean Cornelius. Mr. Nemeth has been farming in the same manner on the vacant land in the Industrial Park East. And what he is asking for, the reason why this came up was he's looking at spending some money in fertilizing and getting the soil to a better condition to be able to plant a more diverse crop. And he would like to have something of a, not a guarantee, but some comfort that if he spends some money that he'll be able to, you know, not have somebody else show up and start farming next year. I think the intent of the city is that, you know, he's taking care of the land. We don't have to go cut the grass on the vacant city-owned land because of what they're doing there.
Right.
You'll look at Dean Cornelius's agreement here, and it does lay out the exact properties in the Industrial Park West. If this is something that you find suitable, we can clean up the agreement to apply to Mr. Nemeth and the property that he maintains, which I believe is only 4 parcels. It's 2 along X, just west of Happy Tales. There's one that's just north of the yard waste site, and there's one that's just south of Cherney. But in here, it basically says that the agreement was for 5 years with Mr. Cornelius, and then it would be brought up to renew, and there was no charge for their ability to farm the land. The condition is that if the city would sell the land, we would work with them, or they would know that, well, obviously when we sell it, it's that portion of the agreement is void then, so. Do you have any questions on this agreement? I mean, it's pretty straightforward,
It is very straightforward.
you know.
But what would happen if Mr. Nemeth is cropping that and prior to him being able to harvest, say his corn, that we got an awesome offer from a vendor that wants to come in there and buy that up? I think there needs to be a little protection for him there too. If something were, an opportunity like that were to happen mid-harvest time or mid-growing season, that I think that we should protect him as well until the end of that growing season.
I think the idea would be the city would work with them.
The last time we had a discussion with him on that property, that's what we told him.
Okay.
Is that we would not just have somebody just come in and rip out his crops. We would give him time to get
Right.
the crops out. We would have to work with that portion of it.
that is part of the chance he takes, so he's not paying
Right.
anything to put it in, so,
And he knew that.
Right.
He agreed to that. He says he's not paying anything, and
right,
if he gets something off of it, he got something at least.
right.
He was very happy with it.
All right, that helps. Thanks, Mike.
So the way I see it, it doesn't really change anything that you've had with him, it just formalizes that agreement,
Right,
which.
and it should be there, it should be
Yeah.
formalized.
Yeah.
So if you would like to make a motion to recommend entering into a lease agreement with Gordon Nemeth for land in the Industrial Park East, that would be good. We can clean up an
Alright.
agreement and have a final document. It'll be this document with Gordy's name on it. It'll be brought to council then if that's your wish.
That is my wish. I'll make a motion that we draw up a formal agreement with Mr. Nemeth for the land.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. You have to take a vote.
All right, Shaney?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Aye?
Nick? Aye. Me, aye. All in favor? Okay,
Okay.
moving on, our next item is the discussion on City Hall project financing.
What I can tell you on the City Hall project financing, last month at council, you received a report on the potential grants that were out there. And that was from Cedar Corp, and the answer was that there are probably minimal amount grants or grants potential for minimal amounts. Nothing that's going to be very seismic to change the amount that you might have to borrow. That was the report you got from Cedar Corp. Now, I will tell you that afterwards, I had spoken to the chairman of this committee, Scott, and we talked a little bit about, well, are there any communities that have been in a similar situation to us that have looked into grants, and what was their experience? In your packet, you have an email from the Hortonville administrator, and we're about 10 months to a year behind them. And the project that they did was not the exact same as what we were looking to do, but it's very similar. And the amount that they're looking at, where we're looking at roughly 2 million, they were looking at about 2.9 million. And I had asked them, is there a list of grants that you looked into? You know, what was your process to find grants? Just to see if it was consistent with what we had for our report. The answer in here is that in Hortonville, the administrator said, well, I don't have a full list of the grants, but I can tell you that there are a number of grants that I researched. He lists a bunch of the companies and sources. One of the big ones that he did lay out there, which is probably one of the grants that the city could have gotten in years past, the city here and the village in Hortonville, he says that he spent considerable time and effort trying to get a community development block grant. We talked a little bit about that
Yep.
at the council. And he had said here that they were in line to receive over $300,000 in CDBG grant money through the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, WEDC. And for those of you who follow this pretty closely, the program was transferred out of WEDC a couple years ago, and it was transferred to be administered by the Wisconsin Department of Administration. And what he's saying is that the DOA switched the criteria back to a point system, which was before WEDC took over. The end of the story there, it's a long story, but the end of it is, at one point Hortonville was eligible or thought they could get $300,000 or more. They can no longer get that. So his story is, we had to borrow the entire $2.895 million for our project. Having said that, we've been working with Ellers, Cedar Corp, and our attorney, Jim Kelney. We have been tied up with the TIF creation to this point. The intent from that group is that we will have a presentation for you at the November finance meeting or at the council or both. I mean, we can bring it back to finance. The reason it's here is because Nick sitting in at the last council meeting, you said you'd refer it to the finance committee. So it can come back to finance in November, but the big thing is, we did check out the grant situation. It looks like, not that we didn't trust Cedar Corp, but someone else at least is in the same boat as us. And we can have our resources devoted over the next month here, Ellers and Jim Callany, to come back to you for your options in November, if that's acceptable.
That is acceptable. I don't know
Okay.
if it has to come back to us, or you might as well just make it to the council so everybody can see it.
Why don't we'll bring it to finance, and that way if you need to make a recommendation, you can, and if we can just ship it to council, we'll leave it at finance for now. And then we'll give you an update, or we'll get going at the November finance meeting, and if not, then it'll go to council. Is that okay?
It's all right, but I was just thinking about them coming in twice and
And it could-
logistics of that, you know.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing, instead of having them come twice.
Just
and
go to council with it.
have
Play the
them
big
talk-
show and let everybody see it at once
Have them
and,
talk once and that's,
Let's see where we're at, because if they have written information, maybe we can just have that reviewed at finance, so that it's not
all right, well, if it.
freshly dropped on you at the council
Okay, well,
meeting.
if it's written, but, you know, like
We'll
I
see
said,
where we're
I-
at, and I'll work with Scott on that, on
All
where
right.
we're at when we put the agenda together. Is that
Okay.
okay?
That works for me.
Okay.
Are we, could we be in the running for any of that point system towards the giving of the block grant to us?
Yep, so what
How much
he's,
time would we need in order to generate that's a points on the rating system based on population and everything, correct?
the gentleman from
All that.
Hortonville lays out just three general factors or indicators. One is median family income, one is the tax rate that you have, and the other one is the debt ratio. He says all three for them are too high. What I can tell you is that we have a contact with the Department of Administration. She's like the Northern Wisconsin contact. I've met with her a couple times. She's been into town to talk with Jerry and I. It's Marianne Lippert. We had talked to her about this because we laid out this project 8 months ago to her. And as a representative of the Department of Administration, she said, she got on the phone and she said, well, let me check your median family income. We're just above the line for, I don't want to say the poverty line, but what they call a low to middle income. You know, it's certain levels. We're just above the low income, that's where a lot of their priority funding goes to. So that's one knock, but they have been looking at it though. So I can tell you that the Department of Administration, we did contact them, and they're aware of our project here.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll plan on giving an update at the Finance Committee in November,
Okay.
All right.
at bare minimum, okay?
Okay, next item, discussion and possible action on the agreement for the fiscal year 2014 audit services.
What happened to the phones? 9.
it didn't ring.
Didn't ring.
Yeah, that's what we need a new one.
We've been disconnected.
Excuse me, let me back up and rephrase that. I jumped over number 9, I'm sorry. We will discuss the possible action on City Hall phone system upgrade.
We have received 2 quotes on a MyTel MyVoice phone system for City Hall. And the reason, just to rehash a little bit why we need to do this, is because we had talked about switching to Charter for phones. To do that, we would save significant amount of money, but we do not own our current phones. CenturyLink owns the phones that we have, and their rates are fairly high as well. On top of that, as we're looking at a new City Hall, you wouldn't want to spend money on a phone system that can't transfer to a new building. The MyTel MyVoice is going to fit into our current situation very well. The only issue we might have is that you'd see cords hanging, because we're not going to spend a lot of money on burying cords in the walls if we're going to tear the walls out potentially in a year or a couple of years.
Right.
But this is a system that we had quoted about 7 or 8 phones that we would need up front for City Hall.
Right.
And once you have the system in place, you can add up to 30, 40 phones on top of this. So we're well prepared or well equipped to do that with the City Hall project. We did solicit 2 quotes, and my understanding is that there used to be 3 to 4 different companies that had sold MyTel products, and one or two of them had either been bought by Heartland or folded into Heartland. So the two quotes I have, one is from Heartland, the other one is from Enterprise Systems Group, which is a certified Mitel provider in Little Chute, right where Heartland's from too, in Little Chute. The two quotes that came in were different because Heartland quoted out, there's three different phones that Mitel provides. There's a 5320, a 5330, and a 5340. The 5330 is what, when we've taken a look at what we need from the phones, the 5330 is probably the best phone for us to use as a base phone because you can have multiple lines. If you want to build on accessories for like cordless headsets, cordless handsets to be able to pick up the phone, you need a minimum of the 5330 phone. The 5320 phone is a phone, the way it was explained to me is that it's a phone, it's your phone if you want to put a phone in a break room. You know, so it's not designated to a specific person's desk, it's a phone where you need a phone. So there's certainly probably a need for that as we build out different sections of the City Hall building. But for right now, we don't really have a break room. We wouldn't plan on putting one in there at all. But just to compare what the prices are, for the system itself, through Heartland, you're looking at $7,129.61 just for all the hardware, the base kit, everything but the phones themselves. $71.29. For Enterprise Systems Group, you're looking at $7,222.16. And then you'll see the unit price there for phones, and you'll see that there's a drastic difference between the price that Heartland offers for you for the basic. So if we consider basic to be the 5330, which is basic for our purpose right now, $303.85 per phone. If you went with Enterprise Systems Group, they're looking at almost $400 per phone, so $395. Heartland had quoted out, you can see the 5340 phone is a very high-end phone that will save, you can put more contacts in that phone, it can do a lot more things than the 5330 can.
You'd want a couple of those, wouldn't you, anyway?
Yeah,
You and
yeah.
Jerry?
And you'll see on your piece there, what we had been looking at was, okay, if we look at 7 phones right now, 3 would be the high end, and 4 could be the lower end. And you'll see just to the right of the unit prices, we were looking at three phones on the 5340 through Heartland. So it'd be me, Jerry, and then probably Becky because she's sort of the central hub of communication. And then the other 4 would be one more upstairs in the police department, so there's 2 there. And then there would be 1 at Public Works, 1 in the meeting room that's right next to me, which is a desk. It's a workstation. And then the 4th one would be for Katrina.
There you go.
So that's sort of what we looked at. Now, Enterprise Systems Group had quoted to us $325 for their 5320 phone. They were saying your basic phone would be what we have figured to be the break room phone. So it's likely that if we went with Enterprise Systems Group, we would probably want to buy all of our phones at the 5330 level as the basic, if we went that route. Now, what I can tell you, Enterprise Systems Group had thrown sort of a vague discount, and I say vague in that it wasn't really explained what the discount is for, but the quote that they gave us was about $10,500 for a number of phones, more phones than we need up front, but we kind of had the idea that in the future we'd be building out the system. And then, so they got their quote down to about $8,995. And if we would compare Heartland on the same product that Enterprise Systems Group, if we'd back them down to the lower phones, Heartland was about $9,100. So if you compare apples to apples, there's a $200 difference. Enterprise Systems Group would be cheaper. You'd get a cheaper phone, but they'd be cheaper. Because we're looking into probably upgrading to the more advanced phones, we're going to also be building out this system when the City Hall building is addressed. The unit price on these phones, that $200 difference is going to be made up as you buy out more phones. And on top of that, if you went with Enterprise Systems Group, we don't have them for any other product right now, where with Heartland, we have maintenance agreements on our computers, on our network. If you had them on the phone, there's a savings to be made there too, in the long run, in cost, which we do not have an estimate yet because the first year is kind of thrown in as implementation. But the cost, and then the other thing would be if you call Heartland, you'll get, if you have a computer problem and a phone problem, you can call one company and get it sort of addressed. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
The recommendation we have right now, and my computer actually just went dead, but it came back up. It would be to go with Heartland with the Mitel system. And I think what we'll probably come back with is, once we get the ball rolling, it'll be probably a month or two from the day that we tell Heartland we would like to go with them, if you decide that that's the company you'd like to go with. It'll be a month or two just coordinating with Charter, trying to get the services in, getting the phones, the system all put together. I would anticipate that there will be a decision on each individual employee, take a look at each phone here and say, which one do you actually need? Or which one's better suited for you, the 5330, 5340, 5320. We've done a little bit of that already.
Well, I would think you would have, because
we
you've
did.
already got it figured.
Yep. So it's, like I said, it's really hard because while they quoted the same equipment, they didn't give us, the book that I got into me from Enterprise Systems Group was for $8,900. The book from Heartland was, if I would back it down and quote the same products at the unit rate, really the only variable is how many phones, which type of phone are you buying. But does this make sense as you look at that in your packet where it tells you the base fee and then the unit rate per phone?
Yep.
Okay, and like I said, then with those two quotes, the recommendation would be to go with Heartland. And I do have a sheet here.
Not just based on the dollar value either. There's extenuating relationship we have with them too. I think that plays major in this too.
The costs are close,
They're-
so that's
they
the
are
main
very
thing. You
close.
don't have a
Not lopsided.
couple $1,000 difference one way or the other, which that was sort of my fear going into it, knowing that it's a kind of a high dollar item. We're looking at about $9,500 to put in a phone system to start.
And one that you can build on when you move into a new
Right.
building too, right?
Yep, and as you look at
That's what you
Heartland, $7,100 of that is upfront costs that you won't have. You'll already have that as you move forward to build onto that.
And people are gonna have to get used to working them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's always some learning curve with a new phone system.
Okay. I have a spreadsheet here where I laid out, if we buy 3 of this phone and 4 of that one, or 2 of this one and 5 of that one, and the big answer is, it's within about $150 right now on a base quote between the two, and because Heartland's phones are $80 to $100 cheaper a piece, you can make that up fairly quickly as you build the system out. Any other questions?
No.
Would you like us to make a motion to support the,
It'd be to recommend moving forward with one of the vendors.
I'll make a motion that we move ahead with the Heartland for the
Okay.
phones.
I'll second that.
motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, discussion, the next item will be discussion and possible action on the agreement for fiscal year 2014 audit services.
This is to approve Clifton Allen Larson for the 2014 fiscal year audit. The quoted rate is not to exceed $21,250. I do not anticipate that there will be as much accounting work this year because last year they had been sifting through the transition in software. But they probably will be coming in though before the end of this year just to get sort of a pre-audit done, just to make sure, when they audited last year, they had a lot of things that we were looking and working with the software company to fix, make sure that they're working, so that they don't come in and have a lot more work. So a lot of that's not anticipated, that there will be a lot of extra work because a lot of the problems we hopefully had fixed earlier this year. So that would be the recommendation would be to approve them for one more year.
I'll make a motion to approve Clifton Larson Allen for another year of audit services.
I'll second it.
Okay. And the vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is closed session. Is that what we want to do at this point?
Yes. And
Pursuant to.
You want to read it, yep.
Closed session pursuant to 19.85, Section 1C, Wisconsin statutes, consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any city employee who is subject to the jurisdiction or authority of the council. The reason for the closed session is to review wages performance for the 2015 budget. The council may choose to reconvene in open session in order to take action on items from the closed session.
And we will.
All right. I'll make a motion, go into closed session.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do a roll call vote. Appleby?
Aye.
Gunderson?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
The time is 6:54. I can edit it out. Yes. Okay.
All right, the next item on our agenda is review of the 2015 proposed budget.
You do have a handout. It's the very colorful handout, 4 pages, the proposed general budget. I have highlighted the areas where we've made changes, and those are probably the main areas that I'll take a look at reviewing with you. We're looking mainly at general government because when you get to the idea of public works, police, those types of areas, the police and the public works committee meetings are coming up, so they'll take care of those. Basically, when we're looking at general government, the council and the mayor, that looks like it is a cut from $7,350 for the council and $2,400 from the mayor in 2014. Proposed in 2015, $2,100 lower for the council and $400 lower for the mayor. What that is for 2014, the general fund took care of 70% and 60% of the mayor and the council, and then the rest went to the utilities. The idea is 50% of your cost is charged to the general fund, 20% to the water, 20% to the sewer, and then 10% to the TIF that we are creating. So that's where, the costs didn't go down, they're just shifted to better reflect where we're incurring the costs.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Some of us are not as young as we used to be. Could you
Yes.
lighten up on the blue next year?
Yeah, well, and
It's like,
I did
damn.
on this other handout. You'll see.
Well, yeah,
it
I
looks
can read this
awesome.
one.
Looks awesome on my computer, but the dark blue. The dark blue gets a little rowdy there, and that's the only section where there's dark blue. You look at the administrator, clerk, treasurer position in 2014. There was $65,000 set aside for all of the salary and all of the insurance costs, all the costs itself. So my salary was not $65,000 for 2014. That's just how much came out of the general fund. That's proposed to shrink from $65,000 down to $50,000. The difference there is, I believe for 2014, the administrator for my role, you had 70% coming out of the general fund, 15, same thing as mayor and council, 15 and 15 out of the utilities. The new proposal would be 50%, just like mayor and council, 50% out of the general fund, roughly. 20% out of the water, 20% out of the sewer, 10% out of the TIF. So that's where that difference is there. There is a hold for an assistant administrator position, which is loosely titled at this point. $21,000 or $21,018 would be the general funds portion of that position. It is slated for a start date of April 1st. That's what the funding is based off of. Approving the budget with that number in there does not approve the position. I would fully expect that if it stays in the budget, we would sit down and have to, we would officially create the position, do a little bit more work there. But the note that says budget hold is to make sure that that's what it would cost if you move forward with it. That's the difference there. Some of the other changes, publications, we spent $4,000 in the past, or we've had $4,000 in the budget. We haven't spent that much. It's closer to $3,000, so that's a change, savings of about $1,000. When we get down to city attorney, in the past we had budgeted $8,000 for the city attorney and $8,000 for outside legal fees, or for 2014. You'll see in the years prior we had budgeted $20,000 and $16,000 just in city attorney, because we had been using Davis and Cuthaw for HR and police commission work in 2014 this year. We did not yet know that they would be the city attorney. They are now. So instead of $16,000 combined for legal services, it's proposed at a rate or a level of $30,000 out of the general fund. Now, work that they do for the TIF is going to be the same situation as my position in the council. That will be charged to the TIF for the development work. We talked about City Hall. That's laid out at about a $10,000 level of maintenance items, because City Hall is getting older. We are spending a little bit more money on maintenance for HVAC, cleaning, those types of things. So there's an increase proposed of $3,000 to get to $13,000. And then there is one more hyper blue. The two blues are basically an increase of $700 for the deputy clerk and the bookkeeper position, which accounts for the general funds portion of their raise, estimated to be 3% for next year. I apologize on that, my phone. Moving down, public safety. Again, the police portion of the budget is slated to increase from $359,000 to $377,000. It's an increase of 4.8%. I say again because, again, that will go to the police committee next week. The numbers, the fire district, the building inspector have not increased very much. The fire district is an increase of about $400 on a $55,000 item. The big line item here that's changing is the ambulance service. Right now we pay $23.07 roughly per person in the city. That equates to roughly $44,000. Gold Cross has indicated to us that they're going to cut our rate on January 1st of 2015. It's going to go from $23.07 to $12.50. That equates to roughly a $20,000 reduction in our service. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that at the police committee, because it's police, fire, and ambulance. But there is a $20,000 savings there attributed to Gold Cross and the service we get from them. Moving forward to health and social services, the only change there is in the animal pound, which is the stray dogs, stray cats. We budgeted $2,000. And $2,000 was actually a reduction from the year before, where we had $3,000. Cutting that $500. Move down to public works. The big thing, we'll get into that, but a little bit of employee turnover coming in at a lower rate and shifting their costs to more accurately reflect the time they spend in the utilities. That cuts about $9,000 out of the general fund portion of public works. Recycling and garbage collection is currently out for bid, and that will be presented next Monday night for the public works. But those dollar figures are just about in line with what the bids came in at. So it would be an increase in recycling, which that would be an increase if you decide to move to biweekly pickup. So it would be basically not double, but instead of $16,000 in 2014, it rises to $25,000 for recycling, because it's more often you're picking up. The garbage collection Right now, we've got 71,000 roughly in the 2014 budget. It's proposed to decrease to the low 60s, 63,000. Those numbers will change after you make a decision at Public Works, as will the whole Public Works section. Are we okay on that in there?
Yep.
Okay. Leisure activities and recreation, the library, the city's portion of the library is going to stay the same for 2015. It's about $105,800. There's an increase in the library from 160 to 166. That increase is being passed on to the counties, Wapaka and Washera. So our city portion, while the line item is increasing, our portion is staying the same. The swimming lake too, we talked about at recreation last night. We're getting better and we're cutting costs with operational utilities, chemicals and things like that. Where when I came in 2013, we had a budget of $52,500. In 2014, we cut it down to $50,000. In 2015, I'm proposing to be able to cut that even further to $48,500. You can take a look at the actuals for the last 2 years. You can see why it's starting to come down. In general, your net on the swim lake is that you budget $15,000 to come in and $48,000 to go out, so you're expecting about a $30-some thousand net cost. So swim lake actually in the end costs you $35,000 roughly. Other than that, there is no change with the leisure activities. We get down to other general expenses. The TIF district, those are the $500 is actually the recertification fees for the TIF district that should be charged to the TIF, and we will do so. So that's $500 savings in the general fund. The ads, promotions in the website, we've had it at $1,000. Going forward with the new website, we know that our annual costs are about $1,200 in maintenance and hosting fees for that site. The citizen survey, based on the numbers that we had in the budget this year, was $1,200 for 2014. The quotes come in about $1,300, almost $1,400. But right now we've got just an increase of $100 to account for that. So the intent would be that we do the survey in 2015. The tuition and training program, which was brand new for 2014, it was a up to $500 reimbursement for employees who go to school or do some type of a training to further their educational achievements. We had $1,500 in the budget. Only one employee had utilized that so far. At $500 a piece maximum, I've got it set for 2 employees to be able to do that for 2015, so it's a cut of $500. The next item then for expense is just the capital improvement fund. We have transferred $300,000 to set aside for capital improvements. That is staying the same for 2015. The principal on our debt is going up $10,000, so we'll be paying $177,000 on the principal. The interest is going down from $32,000 to $26,149. So that's the reduction there. Our total debt service is principal and interest. This year we paid $200,180. In 2015, that will go up to $203,977. So it's almost $4,000 in extra debt costs. The net of all of these things I have explained to you for the general fund is the general fund expenses would be increasing 1.35%, and the total would be $1,778,528. And that will match the revenue number that we'll go through next, but we won't go through in such detail with the revenue. That's the next page then. General property taxes, it appears that we will have a $1,000 increase in the general property taxes we take in. So we will take in $750,142. That's important to note because you'll see our budget is 1.7 million, and out of that we take in 750,000 in actual property taxes. The rest is a lot of state aids, revenue for our charges for services and things like that that we bring in. The big change there, everything in green or on this page here would be numbers that the state provides to us on state aids. The TIF district tax is set to increase because it's based on 2014. Instead of 145,000, we're taking in 152,000. So there's a slight increase in TIF, and we're also looking at creating a new TIF, so there will be changes all the way around with TIF. There aren't any other changes in the revenue at all, except for we get down to state shared revenue. We have a 0.05% reduction, which is a good thing. 510,715 this year. Expenditure restraint is it's like a bonus aid item that's given to you based on a formula that the state sets out. Expenditure restraint simply means from year to year, how much are you increasing your budget? And when you stay under a certain percentage, and off the top of my head, I believe it's 2 or 3% from year to year based on a formula, you're eligible for this aid. So the 25,444 is what our number would be for 2015. Our state road aid has dropped 9.73%. That's due to the state re-implementing some money back into the transportation funding program. By law, they can cut you a maximum of 10% every year. This year they're cutting us 10. In 2014 they cut us 10% because that was the max. The explanation from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities is that for a number of years that funding had been reduced in the transportation program. This year there is money that is going back into the program, and as a result they are cutting us 9.73% for next year. A couple of items that were taken out, the 2 red zeros you'll see there, is the state fire dues. The city had listed that as an income, but not as an expense in the past. And what that is it's basically pass-through money. Money gets paid to the cities, and we pass it because we don't run our own fire department. We have the fire district. We pass that back out. It's based on a 2%, it's called 2% fire dues. On all of the insurance policies that are in the state, there is a certain percentage that's dedicated towards like fire aid. And it's hard to, we can get into that in more detail, but that's generally what the program is. So that number, it's taking out as a revenue, but in the past we would take the money in and then we'd pay it right back out. So it's kind of a net zero. The state, same for the state ambulance aid. Because we don't run our own in-house services, we send that money back out to our contractors. The only other, there's 2 big changes that are in this sheet, and they are 3/4 of the way down the page. Court penalties and costs. We have taken in or budgeted $22,500 for the last 2 years, and because of an increase in citations, and partly because of some of the railroad citations that we have been issuing that we hadn't in the past, I'm proposing to increase that $2,500 so that the budget would be $25,000 in court penalties net the costs that New London charges us. And then the only other thing is at the bottom, the refuse collection is the bottom one that is highlighted there. We have, based off of that garbage fee that is charged every month on the water bill, we've budgeted $100,000, but the reality is we take in closer to $110,000. So that's an increase in $10,000 on the revenue side. Not really an increase in what we actually take in, it's just the budget number is increased. And as we look on the back sheet here, we have the park shelters and playgrounds. I've increased that $1,000 to $3,000 because we have an additional brand new shelter that we will be renting out. We have 1 extra shelter, and our actuals have been closer to $3,000 than they have to $2,000. A new line item for this year is the credit card rebates, and what that is the 1% that we get on a kickback from Comdata. We are looking for next year to have a $1,000 rebate on that. And what that means is that we would end up expending $100,000 and paying for that on the credit card. It's a goal that I think we can reach, but that's a revenue. And then the cable franchise fees, we've budgeted $7,000 in the past. I'm proposing to raise that $3,800 to $10,800. That number changes on a quarterly basis based on the number of charter customers that are in the city and the level of packages that they have as a subscription. And when I look at the last or most recent quarterly figures and our actuals, so 2013 we took in $10,400, and this year we've taken in 8,100 through 3/4 of the year. It's on track to come in about over $10,000. So that's just to reflect what our actual has been. The very last change as we do this review would be under commercial revenues, interest on general fund investments. We've budgeted $500. Our actual has been a little bit higher than that because we're not simply because interest rates have risen, but because we've been able to manage our investments a little bit better. Since, I don't want to say since I've been here, but just in general, we've done that. So a more realistic figure instead of 500, I think, would be $1,000. At the bottom of the page, again, revenues match expenses, $1.778 million. That is the review of the 2015 budget. The rest, like I said, the other committees will take on Public Works, Police, and it will go to council on October 20th. Do you have any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. If you would like to make a motion to recommend approval on the 2015 budget, that will be passed to the city council.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2015 proposed budget.
I'll second. We want a roll call on that?
Yeah. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Gunderson?
Aye.
Appleby?
Aye.
Motion carries with all ayes. Okay.
Okay, moving on, make a motion to approve checks 30899 through 30969 totaling $116,950 and the monthly financial statements.
I'll second it.
Do we need a motion first?
I did it. I
Oh,
did
you
it
made
right
the
off
motion.
bat,
You
yeah.
did.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions on that? If not, we can do a roll call vote. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Gunderson?
Aye.
Appleby?
Aye.
Motion passes with all ayes.
Administrators report.
I can tell you that through the items that we've had on this meeting tonight, I've basically updated you on everything that we've got actively going on. The big thing is the budget. Obviously, it's been quite a bit of work to get it to you, and I'm happy that we're to the finish line nearly with that. So, in addition, the only thing we'll be looking at is the Plan Commission and the Joint Review Board. In early November, we'll be looking at establishing TIF number 6, which is a brand new TIF or TID district. We will also be looking at closing out TIF number 3, which encompasses essentially the Larson Co-op mill or their plant in the Industrial Park West. We will look to close that out and get that back online. That is probably going to involve a $100,000 debt payment to pay off the rest of the debt on TIF number 3. But we will talk to you about that. That's just a heads up that that's probably coming in December. Pay off the debt a little bit early.
How long has that been? How many years was that a TIF?
That one I believe was 1993 or 1995.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. And so when there's $100,000 left, it's only a year or two from closing on its own. But in order to create TIF number 6,
You gotta close that
we
one
need to
out.
close so that we have enough room to put number 6 in. Because the state caps your allowable value at about 12% that you can have in TIF.
Okay.
So that's just a heads up, but I've talked enough on a lot of the other items that that would be my report.
Thank you,
Okay.
Patrick. Let's set the November finance meeting date and time.
What?
First
November
Monday would
3rd?
be the day before the election,
I think it would be, right?
November 3rd.
Yep.
6 o'clock, 6 o'clock? 5:30
5
tonight, but
I don't know, you might,
Let's just start at 6.
Okay.
We'll see what happens from there.
Sure. The good news
Works
is
for
you're
me.
gonna have a vote on the budget, so it'll be, you know, if the Lake Group is back for their request, that might be the only thing that you really have that's hanging out there. You know? But either way, we can change it if we need to. Such other matters, I do not have anything. Anybody else?
Nope.
Mayor? Nothing? All right. I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 8:51. Thank you.
Thank you.